Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I want to make sure your flags are actually in there.
I've been like this before, so I'm just like, I will snip them if need be.
Absolutely. No, I just want, like, you did an intentional thing. I want you to be able to see it. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okay. Now we follow.
Feel free to move that chair. Oh yeah, that works.
Yeah, this is easier. Oh, this is like the most refreshing interview I've ever done. Normally I have to like mask so hard, and this is just delightful. Thank you.
You just feel free to be yourself at all times. I prefer it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Most of the time I really am too. Like, since finding out I was autistic, like, and getting that confirmation, I've had a way harder time masking, which is pretty funny. And like, it's great, but it's also like, everybody got reintroduced to who I am. I don't, do I pull, what happens?
You want to close out the top one up?
No, I actually want more like.
Okay, so I think we need to. Just like move this to the center. That's it, you know?
I do.
Do you want me to do the same with the one above the AC, or is it just this one?
No, just this one.
Okay.
Because if you have like too much direct light on your face, it's weird.
Yeah, no, that should be good.
I want you to have a glow, but not be like, whoa.
Well, I wore highlighter today, so hopefully that helps.
First of all, same. Also, I just hate being above my belly. I'm like, yeah, just make it go above my belly button, please. There you go, buddy. I got this from Five Below.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, right? I think it was like $7, which always drives me fucking crazy. Because then it's like,
It's
well,
not below 5.
it's really not. Like, what the fuck? But I think this looks perfect. This is like, what? Why is this the system?
Listen, why is anything this?
Like, I'm just, especially like social work, dealing with trauma and all over. Whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's why I love the fact that a lot of my kids prefer to do counseling like in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you need me to turn the light on? They're like, no, it's better this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just both be in this little cave together. I love that.
I do actually think that's kind of cute. Except it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got introduced to one of my main adopted children as he was leaving, telling me his quarrels with love. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the relationship stuff that makes them come in.
That's interesting that that's the main. Well, I guess it's so like not easy to talk about, but it's like so relevant and now and it doesn't require them like going back through their entire lives and whatever.
The interesting part is getting them to connect it to their lives, because a lot of them don't see the connection. But that's always very like they're, oh my god, what?
Yeah. I remember when or even now still I connect those dots sometimes and I'm like, yeah, this makes so much more sense now. Oh, it's me because I'm being I was like, why is it so weird? It's just, that's all that was necessary. Okay. And then silent mode, because nobody needs that. Okay, great. Love it. Okay. Backpack and pen. Also, as far as where you look, you can look at me, you can look at the camera, it really doesn't matter.
Cool.
Wherever you feel comfortable, you can look over there. I don't know. Wherever you need to look is fine with me. I'm a big talk and look everywhere, all over the place, all at once. So, yeah, feel free to do whatever you want.
Gotta learn that contact avoidance.
Yes. Even just like I read something about like auditory processing and whatever, and it just is like people of our generation learn and this is all like, I read one thing, so grains of salt, but people of our generation learn and receive information horizontally versus people of like younger generations now are like learning, we learn in list form, and younger generations learn horizontally because they're used to like YouTube and whatever the swiping situations that are happening. I grew up with it, and apparently like some of that is like attached to which direction you look as you process information. So like we have a tendency to look like up and down and whatever, and the younger generations have a tendency to go left and right. I don't know how true that is because I just go all over the place.
Yeah.
But like, but it was an interesting. And I was like, all right, well that could be true, I guess. Whatever. Oh yeah, you bet. I feel like you'll like this. So now one of my best friends, her name is Millie. Hey Millie, because I'll probably tell her. She is like truly one of the best people in the entire world. And I met her because I was doing like a candle workshop or something. That she's like an event planner that she figured out. And she's also a pre-K teacher, pre-K or kindergarten. So I really liked her, like in the event, and I was kind of just like, I want to be her friend. What can I do here? And we were doing a whole thing for Earth Month or Earth Day or something here, and I was just like, she's a teacher of young kids. She's very like personable. When I look at her and talk to her, she whatever. I was like, and so I went up to her and like after the end, and I was like, do you want to do an interview for a nonprofit about like how to talk to kids about the environment? And she was just like, I'm overwhelmed right now, but like, yeah, sure, okay. And I was like, great, yeah, I didn't mean like right now, that makes sense, like whatever. So we met up the next time. She had, I kid you not, like all of her notes, full answers, and then the short versions of the answers. And also, what I'm saying too is long term, I could do the same thing for you if it helps. It was hard for her to like not just read from the notes and look up and whatever. So we took keywords and then I just held them here. So like, so you could just be like, and what's my next thought? And we could just do that too. I have a notebook for it. It's totally, actually I think it was with this notebook. It's like a really high chance that that's the case. Anyway, so those are all the things, and now I'm gonna shut. So I'm gonna go, whatever, we'll keep it in order just so you know what's happening. Yeah, I was like, let me not do that. What is your role as the assistant programs director and as social worker? Like, in what capacity do you do both things?
Cool. What is my role as the assistant director? I didn't get a job description, so I don't even know. But
I don't know what mine is for my job. It's
right? Like, so I guess you'd describe, so the role of an assistant program director is basically to be the right-hand man, or in this case woman, of the program director. So I support our program director, Lorraine, in making decisions for the organization, whether that's supporting her in how we allocate our budget, attending meetings with the principal and the assistant principal, speaking on the program's behalf when Lorraine is not here or when Lorraine is not in meetings. So kind of like the second face of the program. In terms of social work, this is my domain. I do counseling with students, social emotional based support. So that comes in the ways of referrals. So teachers and even my own staff may come to me like, hey, so-and-so has been sleeping a lot in class, or they've been missing a lot of school, or I heard them crying in the bathroom, whatever it may be. Is it cool if you can approach them, or if even I bring them to you and maybe you can start counseling with them? And that's sort of how these things go. It also happens really organically as well. Like, I'll be minding my business, click-clacking away, and then they'll see that this is a wellness room, and they'll be like, so I can come and talk about my feelings here? And I'm like, yes, you can. Do you want to talk about them now? And they'll just step in and sit down and start chatting. And 3 months later, they're graduating, and I'm like, you've grown so much. So that's more often than not, that's actually how it happens. So aside from one-on-one counseling, I also do group counseling. In the past, I've also ran groups. So the group that I ran was called Boys Group, or The Shop, depending on who you ask. So it was sort of a support group for young men here, utilized sort of as community building at first. A lot of new students, a lot of new male students that weren't really forming relationships, were like, how do we provide a space for them to get to know each other, have fun, but also kind of like swivel in like a little feelings in there, like, so how do you feel about being in a new school? especially a transfer high school, right? Like there are a lot of students that come in here that feel very disillusioned with their education because they're like, oh, I was doing so well. I was in a charter school, or I was, you know, top of my class, but then the pandemic hit and I couldn't cope. And now I'm at a school that's referred to as a credit recovery school or a transfer school. It's not as rigorous. It's not as interesting as the opportunities that I may have been offered in my other school. I feel isolated. My friends are graduating before me. Groups like that, because we also have a girls group that I don't run, our advocate counselor runs, support students kind of not feeling so lost and finding commonalities within each other. Like, oh, we actually came from the same school, or you had a very similar story to me as to why I ended up at a transfer school. Let's bond over that. We play the same video games. That's a big one. Video games and anime are very big. And they built connections like that, and I was very fortunate to be the person that sort of ran that group and pushed them a little to have conversations that they don't usually have in their friendship circles. So like, let's talk about the connection between mental health and gang violence. Like, what about that? Or like substance use and mental health. That was very rewarding because I kind of saw their minds sort of shifting, like, wow, this is why this is so common in our neighborhoods and things like that. So that's what I do as a social worker.
When you have, like, I'm going to use gang violence and mental illness, like when you talk about, or substance abuse, honestly, I mean, it all kind of realms. What do the students typically, if you're allowed to talk, I don't know, how does that like story develop? Like what do you aim to have them connect?
So so with gang violence, right? It's always the usual, like, yo, my bro, like, he saw his best friend die right in front of him and he hasn't been the same since. And they'll say that so casually. Or like, oh, I just had to go to a funeral because my homie, like, he caught a lick and then they caught him back. And then you're like, okay, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm good. I've seen death my whole life. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Do you know that being desensitized to death, attending so many funerals since a young age, and now being numb to it, that's also a mental health issue. Doesn't mean that you're inherently strong, and it's not a positive experience. And how can we get you to see that so that you can sort of start healing? Because at one point your glass is going to overflow and you're not going to be able to cope in the way that you see yourself coping. One of the big catalysts for that was, I believe now it makes 2 years, we lost a student that had just started here to gang violence, literally like 3 weeks into school. And that sort of took the building by storm. Whether you knew him or you didn't know him, it was very triggering. Because a lot of our students have seen similar situations. So opening up the floor to that, mind you, I was like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like social work intern, like, oh my God, we need to talk about this, has been like how I've sort of embedded that into the conversation. Also really big on talking about PTSD and like living in our communities. I am from Harlem, born and raised, so I know very well what it's like to live in this area and to hear the things that you hear and see the things that you see, and how that overall contributes to how you navigate the world. Whether that's you navigate the world looking over your shoulder all the time, whether safety is super important to you, or you can't feel safe enough in anywhere that you go. And all of that is based off trauma, whether you experienced it firsthand or even heard of it. It happens so often in our communities that we just call it a New York walk, right? When it's actually a safety measure. And having those conversations with our students have been really important as well, because I've had a lot of students come in like, yeah, you know, my friend just hasn't been the same since, you know, that shooting happened, or like they lost their dad or whatever it may be. And I'm just like, what? Like, how does that affect you? One, because let's have that conversation. You're bringing it up, that means it's also important to you. But two, like, what do you see? How is he different? Oh, he just acts like he doesn't care about his life. And it's like, okay, so what that is often referred to as is passive suicidality, and that often happens due to trauma. So that's how I kind of bridge those gaps between what do we see in our community and how is that connected to mental health. And I'm grateful enough that they've always been very interested in it, and they spark up these conversations themselves after a while. So I had that gang activity and like PTSD conversation with the boys and boys group. The next week they wanted to talk about substance use. why is everybody their age smoking so much weed?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I don't know, like, I've never smoked before. And like the other boys were like, well, I have, like, I do it all the time. And then he's like, yeah, but like, you guys, like, sometimes I hang out with you guys and I see you guys do it. And it's like, you guys just say, oh, now I don't feel anymore. And it's like, that's not messed up. Like, and it just opened up the whole like can of worms about like, yes, people smoke weed to hide their emotions, to numb their emotions. But what happens when you sober up? And then one of the guys are like, I keep feeling the same. Sometimes I feel worse. Like, I've had panic attacks after I've come down. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, because you're suppressing. You're not processing. Mm-hmm. So that has been sort of the common themes for groups like Boys Group, is kind of taking everyday things that they see and making them think about it a little bit more intentionally. Not everything is as it seems, and not everything is normal or healthy, rather. Mm-hmm. Healthy is a better word to use. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When did Boys Group, the shop, whatever, I love the shop, honestly. That just feels like awesome. Did the shop come because of the student shooting?
No, actually. So the shop, to my knowledge, because I jumped into it when I became a social work intern, the shop originally started because our peer advocate, who actually still works for Mission, Lawrence, and our advocate counselor at the time, they wanted to start a group during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So they were like, we want to create a group for boys to speak their mind and be connected, even if it's virtual. We just want to give them the space. Even if all they want to do is talk basketball, let's give them the space. So they held the shop virtually. I believe it was every Wednesday on Zoom. They sent out the link to all the young men in Harlem Renaissance at the time, and they were like, join us, we'll be here. Like, we'll open that forum for you guys. And from what I was told, a couple guys joined in. They mostly did talk about sports. But when we came back in person, the peer advocate was still here, and he was like, I want to keep this going. Like, he was actually someone that was a student here. So I guess he sort of saw a need for a men's group, being that he experienced going through this school and graduating from this school.
And that is Lawrence?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and then when I was doing my internship, I was like, I want to help. Like, I want to join Boys Group. And he was like, cool, you can handle all the counseling stuff that I can't. And I'm like, oh, like, they talk about their feelings. He's like, yeah, sometimes I just don't. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll be there. Like, I'll be the one, like, providing psychoeducation and also, like, taking out the kids that start crying because, like, feelings are weird for you. Like, I got you. And that's kind of how it grew.
Really funny.
Yeah, it's pretty, like, you know that nervous look, like, hey, so, like, he walked out. Can you, like, go get him? Yeah. And I'm like, I got it.
Yeah. Yes, I can. You're
yes,
welcome.
I can. I got this.
You stay in Boys Group. That's awesome. Can you just briefly give a definition of what a transfer high school is?
Yes. So I'll give you the traditional definition. So a transfer high school is for, and I'm going to use air quotes because I don't like this definition. A transfer high school is for overaged and undercredited high school students. So we cater to students from the age of 17 to 21, although that's sort of shifting a bit, especially like after the pandemic, because a lot of students struggled academically. The actual requirement to be able to enroll into a transfer high school is that you have to do at least 1 year of a traditional high school before you're able to apply to a school like ours. And there's a lot of different names for us. I prefer transfer high school over credit recovery because we do function like a traditional high school. You don't just come in, take classes, and leave. We offer programming. There's post-secondary counseling. There's paid internships, all the things that Mission provides. But there's also traditional classroom settings. You're sitting in a class, you're talking to a teacher, you're doing assignments. And students just come here, they fulfill their credit requirements in order to get a high school diploma. They utilize the resources that we have. They build community. They start their clubs if they want to start clubs. And yeah, I would think it's like a expedited high school is a better way to put it. Because you're doing what you need to do at minimum to get a high school diploma. None of the bells and whistles that I was very shocked aren't necessary in a high school diploma. Like, I didn't know that you only needed to take 5 regents to get a diploma. Because I took like 9 when I was in high school, right? I came here and they're like, no, it's only 5. And I'm like, I've been bamboozled.
Yeah.
I've been hoodwinked. But that's what our students take, and 44 credits, that's all you need, and you get through it. So that's the pure definition of a transfer high school.
What do you think the top like 3, or any number, it doesn't really matter, the top reasons why students utilize the transfer high school?
I'll tell you what I've heard trending for the last couple of years. Their mental health was not properly taken care of at their original high school. Their IEP, so their individualized education plan, was not met. So whatever diagnosis they have, whether that's dyslexia, ADHD, whether they needed a speech pathologist, their school might not have had the necessary resources, which led to them not performing properly academically. They may have had instances that have led to poor attendance, whether that's I have to take care of a family member, or someone passed away and I just needed some time to myself, that led to them having to leave their former school. And then also poor attendance because my mental health is so bad, why do I want to sit in the classroom? Or in those times where they did sit in the classroom, it was one bad day and something happened that led to them reacting violently or aggressively, and the school's kind of like, we can't have you here anymore. Yeah.
How do they find out about how do they go from any of those situations to finding out about a transfer high school?
So sometimes it's the guidance counselor of that school, where it's like, listen, we don't want to delay your graduation any longer due to whatever it is that you're dealing with. Here are your options, and they present them with the list of transfer high schools. There are also transfer high school fairs that happen towards the beginning of the school year that we attend, and we're like, hey, come to us, we'll help you graduate. And then also the DOE center downtown, when parents take their children in for like school enrollment, they're like, we also have these schools because of the amount of credits that your child has and how old they are, they might qualify to be able to be enrolled in a transfer high school. Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm going off script,
No
but I
worries.
swear all the questions are related to you.
Yeah.
How do kids find out about your service?
So we are just like peppy and in your face when the school year starts. We do a lot of advertising. So if you walk around the school building, you'll see Level Up flyers. You saw that our door had our faces on it. I am the flyer maker, so I just make a bunch of promotional materials and just push them out. And then on the first day of school, the principal likes to host an orientation for new students, and we get invited to speak about what our program offers. And then we also sit downstairs in the CAF, which is where the students enter, every morning for what we call morning welcome. We greet the students, we say good morning. I do wellness check-ins where it's like, maybe I spoke to a student yesterday that was on an emotional high. If I see them come in, I praise them for coming into school, because that's always great, right? And then I check in. Or if I see a student that is maybe, this is the second time that they've worn this outfit, or it's snowing and they're wearing Crocs, I could do check-ins like that. But overall, it's just greeting them, saying good morning, making sure that they have a warm face that they can smile at when they walk into the school. And then we also tell them what we offer. So if we're having an internship seminar or an info session, hey, just so you know, like, you told me that you wanted a job, we offer those. Or like, hey, so our groups are starting next week, or you said you were interested. Anything like that, we sort of utilize that time in the morning.
You had talked about like how important it is for students to feel safe, and how when that student was murdered, like everyone kind of was like shook, especially, I mean, for so many obvious reasons. And I imagine too, like, if I'm in their shoes, even just it being like, obviously it's close to home when you're outside of school, but it happening and then touching your like safe zone, school zone, I imagine is like, bleh.
Yeah.
How does like you or the school or like, you know, whoever touches it help make students feel safe?
So
except obviously actually what you just said about like the welcoming is obviously that feels very much,
of course, right? So for a while after that student passed, we had a lot of students that were very open with like, I don't feel safe coming to school. Even though it happened like blocks away, it was still like, I don't feel safe. It's valid, right? So that's where we came together as a community, right? Like, if I have a rapport with that student, I'm calling that student every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm staying on the phone with that student as they commute to school, making sure, like, I got you, I'm here. I'll meet you outside if I have to. I'll meet you down the block if I have to. We have a DOE social worker. She's awesome. And she held a couple of bereavement circles as well. And it was just kind of like, listen, teachers, I understand that there is a curriculum that you guys need to get through, but how do you expect them to focus if they are still trying to process what happened? So I'm gonna be in this room at this time with this many counselors, and if they need to leave your room to go to this room and have this bereavement circle, please allow them to. And that was utilized for a couple of weeks. I had a complete open door policy. I'm like, I don't care what I'm doing, I'll drop it if you need to talk. And that's sort of how we supported our students through instances like that.
And it had to help also to have a DOE social worker, not just for the extra like power, like the extra people, but I'd imagine just as far as getting teachers to be able to, right?
Yeah.
Not related to this, but I'm just curious. All I've ever heard is everybody has a terrible relationship with DOE. How is it good working with them, or is it like?
It's my own personal version of hell. Yeah, it's really bad. Like, how deep do you want to get into this?
Yeah, no, I really like going up.
So like, it's my stress.
Do you really not have the time? You have no time.
I have no time.
Okay, then yeah, no, fuck it. Oh, that's so nice.
Well, I was excited about this.
Well, me too, and it's just always like it depends on the person, obviously, and I respect everybody's time very much. It's why I like fucking hate when I'm late.
Yeah.
Conveys the message that I'm not trying to do, and I spent like $90 in the fucking Uber to get here because I was like, let me just do the fastest one, and then it was the slowest thing I could possibly done. Whatever. Anyway, but
I cleared my schedule.
Yeah. So my schedule is incredibly flexible. Like I have to just get projects done by a certain point. But like if I do that at 3 a.m. today, it's relevant as long as it's there in the morning.
Yeah.
So I always am just kind of like, it's interesting to see because some people are like they want to end right at like a 45-minute top, which is totally fair stuff to do. And then sometimes it's just like, cool, I'm hanging out here today, and it's like it's just really funny. Like you never know.
Real recognize real. My tangents are like, if you get me really excited about a topic, I will not shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
So I need more time.
Yeah.
Because 45 minutes is not enough time to convey whatever it is that we're trying to convey here, right?
Especially without you having to constantly be like pulling yourself back and pulling yourself back and whatever. And also like now we have time if you need a break, if it's going on too long. It's like, because sometimes too, I get it, like talking to a person about one topic for like 2 hours is a lot. That's why therapy is typically only an hour.
Yeah.
So I also get that, and like
you're fortunate enough. Work is one of my hyperfixations, so like I'm ready. Like I'm locked in.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
actually, and now I have that.
Sucks sometimes because like my partner, he's like, "Are we still going? Is this still about work?" I'm like, "Yes, this is still about work. I'm not done. I just have so much to say." With that being said, my stress level is mostly contributed to how working with the DOE, to the point where like I've literally developed health issues because of how stressed I get. Yes, because they're difficult. They're very difficult to work with.
Well, I remember the Q3 presentations and like all of everybody. I said it out loud to everyone. So like stuff with the DOE, and so, like I remember the whole room was like hysterical, like haha. And I was like, I know it's not an appropriate question, but like every single one of you, like what is fucking wrong with them?
Yeah.
What is your work like with them? Like, what do you have to do?
It's like pulling teeth to meet with them. So there are things that we have to get done for our funding, deliverables that we have to give at the beginning of the school year that involves them. So one of them is called like a work plan, where we basically detail our goals for the year, but they need to buy into it, and they need to say what their piece of it is as well. 3 weeks, 3 meetings. They gave us nothing. Like, we sat there, they were unprepared every time.
Like, you're both supposed to talk about your goals.
Yes. How they want to allocate the funds that we are providing them, all of that. And they're just kind of sitting there like, yeah, I mean, like, why can't you just copy the thing you used last year? And it's like, we're telling you that it's a completely different format. And we shouldn't have to tell you, because you got the email too. Like, we were all on it. With the new template and everything, and how they want to see things, and why it's important for us to do this, all of that. And they're just like, yeah, I just don't get like why this is like that to you. And I'm just like, So it got to the point because, like, as you mentioned, right, once you realize what your diagnosis was, you were just kind of like, fucking mask off, fuck it. Like, so for me, it was kind of similar. So I'm doing therapy right now. I'm doing hypnotherapy. See, one of my tangents. Oh, it's so dope.
I've never done it, but I'm so
it's
curious.
It's so freaking dope. I did regression hypnotherapy like years ago.
Is that like just digging into your past?
Yeah, like going back to like your childhood self, removing blockages and stuff like that.
To do this. I like him especially. I'm dying for him to do it.
I will send you the link of the school in California that is providing it because it's free because it's their interns that are doing it for their hours. And
so you did it virtually?
Yeah.
And it's still good. Yeah. Please do send me that.
Like, I love her. I'm gonna stick with her once she graduates because she's graduating soon. But she is so sweet and she's so great. I'm gonna send it to you. My brother actually put me on because he has ADHD, so he's like trying all these modalities to see which one works for him.
Yeah.
Very ADHD of him. But yeah, so like I'm doing hypnotherapy and it's removing a lot of like layers. So like that social anxiety that doesn't make me autistic is actually social anxiety, but I was socially anxious since I was a kid because I was autistic. Like nobody accepted how fucking weird I was, so I got scared. That's basically what I've realized.
Yup,
so,
makes total sense to me.
It does make total sense.
My
right?
mom basically had, still does. She's alive. She's wonderful, and I love her to pieces. It's not like it's not her fault, but obviously it's definitely kind of her fault. I was diagnosed with ADHD at like 25 or something, and then autism at like 27 or something. So, but my mom's job is literally, she's the head of a child care study team. She's a social worker. She's been a social worker forever. And I remember, like I said to her at some point, because at first when I was like, hey, fun fact, this makes sense now. And my mom was like, yeah, ADHD, cool. And I was like, hey, autism also. And she was like, you don't, that's just, what do you, it's TikTok nonsense telling you that.
TikTok nonsense.
And I was like, to be fair, TikTok is what opened my mind to it. But also then I like did a bunch of other stuff. And I don't see anything wrong with TikTok as long as you like vet who you're talking about.
So don't believe everything you hear. Do your own research.
Exactly.
Really look into yourself. Don't assign yourself to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
For me, it was an early childhood development course that I was taking, where we were talking about early signs of autism in children, and also my godson because I diagnosed him with autism. Like I told his mom, you need to take him to get evaluated. No worries. And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, take him immediately. And lo and behold, here he is, my beautiful little 7-year-old baby, very much autistic, very much living his best life. Doesn't like touching things with his hands, neither do I. Like, we're right here.
Yep.
But it was him, that early childhood development class. Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
Do you need a break?
I'm literally just gonna
chug tea. Do your thing.
2 seconds. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Mia.
I'm gonna have to get out. It felt so bad.
Why?
Not right now.
Okay.
I got my nails done. It's like a 2.5 hour process. This happened in the middle of it.
Oh no.
Twice. I was literally like, oh my god.
I'm so sorry this is happening.
The first time, the woman who does my nails for me was Jan. Jan was like, it's totally fine, don't worry about it. And I was like, cool, thank you. And the second time it happened, she was like, do you want to put on a mask? I get it, Jan, thank you. I did, which is fine. But I've tested like every day that I see anyone. I'm a vicious tester. I don't have anything. But I did have like a cold 3 weeks ago. Okay. And this just never went away.
It's the residual, yeah. If you want to open a window a bit, I know that sometimes fresh air helps.
So red.
Yeah.
I'm really okay. I'm just gonna take a whole bunch of things. Also, so great this is you. It's so different, whatever. Also,
Yeah, like, but seriously, no one. Please.
Put it in my book bag afterwards.
That's what it shouldn't. I mean, I'm gonna work still gonna do it. It's not really shouldn't matter, but I know the board's trying to fire me, so it's like, not for this, not for actually, not even fire me. They want to dissolve my position, and it's like totally appropriate. They actually really should.
Yeah.
If they do, I'm like, I've been saying it since before they figured it out. But our endowment is so big. We have like a $59 million endowment, and just the interest alone that you can take without the taxes, whatever nonsense, makes like more than double what I bring in, and then you don't have to pay my salary. So if they just take the endowment and put it in towards whatever I normally raise, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
And I would really like to change my job to be way more of what you and I are currently doing, but I'm so much more interested in that. Like an evaluator or something, or even an event planner, that would be great too.
Yeah, I think you're suited for it, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's just like okay.
Good.
It's good. It's fast. We're
Cool.
all set. Thank you.
No worries. But yeah, so my early childhood development
Oh, yeah.
class was like telling, like, you know, like walking on your tiptoes, W sitting, you know, lining toys up, all that stuff. And like, it was like brain blast. Like, I was like, what? I was like, is walking on your tiptoes like a serious symptom? She's like, yeah, like that's like one of the main physical ones. Instantly called out to my mom. I was like, Mom, how long did I walk on my tiptoes when I was a kid? She was like, they literally had to put weights in your shoes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a physical issue. You just like wanted to do that.
My nephew needed to wear 2 casts because, like, whatever they did, like, forced his heel down. No, first of all,